Well, hello, welcome back. So far we have looked at my inventory, both looking at all the products in my collection and also the numbers and spreadsheets. So I want to do a plan to pan for 2023. I have my items picked out here and I have my spreadsheets pulled up just so I can double check when these things came into my collection and why I'm choosing them to actually work through next year. So without further ado, let's get into it. So in my collection video, I did say that I didn't plan on bringing anything else into my collection for 2022, but I lied. So I did pick up the Star Wars and Pat McGrath. This is the Darth Vader palette, and today on my eyes, I do have this first shade here, which is called Imperial. Pat McGrath was also having a 40% off sale, so I did pick up a Mothership palette that has not shipped yet, but I hope to feature that on my channel in 2023. So getting into the items that I want to use up in 2023, I do have my basket of products down here, including an eyeshadow palette that I want to be my focus for next year because it is my next to oldest palette in my collection. I have my spreadsheets pulled up, so let's go ahead and get into what I want to use up. I think organically I'm going to go through a lot of my products this year. I don't have an excess of different products in certain categories. Of course, eyeshadows, I'm never going to go through any of them. Those are just for my enjoyment, but I think that for a lot of my smaller categories, I will end up going through a lot of them, but these are just products that I want to focus on maybe earlier in the year to get them rolled out. I'm not putting any skincare or SPF in this video because I'm going to go through all of my SPFs and a lot of my skincare this year anyway, but I do want to start with primers. One thing that I want to focus on maybe in spring, summer of 2023 is the e.l.f. Power Grip. I've used this a couple times. I don't really have my mind made up about it, but I do really enjoy using a gripping primer in the summer because I live in Florida. It does get hot. We have a lot of humidity, and usually with my oily skin, my makeup does like to try to melt off. So I'm hoping that this will help with the longevity of my makeup during the summertime. I did pull two different foundations. One is the Belief Beauty foundation and the other one is the NARS Soft Matte. I have already marked this one. This is the next foundation that I'm going to work on at the beginning of the year. And again, because Florida, hot, humid, I want to work on this NARS one in the summer. This does have 1.5 fluid ounces. So this is another one of those foundations that's going to take a little bit longer to use up. So I anticipate using this one all the way through the summer and maybe into September, October. I have some concealer products. So I have the NARS Soft Matte Concealer and I have my Bobbi Brown Corrector in Light Bisque. I feel like I have neglected these concealers this year because I have focused on some other concealers in my collection, but here is where we're starting with this one. It's got a little bit of a dip in it. And then the corrector is looking like this. Again, a little bit of a dip, but not a whole lot of progress on it. I didn't put any powders in here because I do feel like I will go through those just normally throughout the year. Again, oily skin, Florida, you'll hear me say that a million times. So we can move on next to bronzer, and I did put 3 different products into this collection that I want to use up in 2023. And first we do have the bronzer stick from Wet n Wild. This is brand new, I haven't used it, and so this is something that I want to focus on. Then I also have the Becca Sunlit bronzer. This is also brand new. I haven't touched this. I've only swatched it a couple times, so this will be my focus starting at the beginning of the year. And then I also have my large pan of my Franken bronzer. I have started using this after I used up the last of my other Franken bronzer, so this does have some wear on it, but I'll use this up next fall. We can roll into blush, and I do have 2 different blushes. I do want to finish up the oldest cream blush in my collection, which is the Stila Convertible color. I did hit pan on this using it 40 times in Deck of Panning, and so I don't feel like this will be hard for me to use up probably before the summer. And then I also have the Tarte blush in Paaarty. I also have a pan on this one from a usage goal in Deck of Panning. So this also should not be hard for me to use up throughout the year. I have two different highlighting products. So I do have the repressed Champagne Pop. And so this is just a mini that I repressed into a compact. So this also should not be hard for me to work through in the beginning of the year. And then this package always blinds you guys, so I'm sorry for that. I'll try to do what I can. Maybe I'll cover it like this. But this is the Tarte palette, the, what is this called? The Skin Twinkle. And so you guys can see how much progress I've made on this shade here. I do want to repress it after the beginning of the year, just so I can get some more use on it. It's hard to get my bigger brush in this little tiny section over here. I've had my MAC paint pot in Painterly in a project pan all this year, and so I have a very big dip in this product, but I have not hit pan. This thing is deep. So I do want to continue to focus on this as my eye primer, and through my calculations on what I've been able to use up each month on this, this should last until November of next year. So if you want a bang for your buck as far as eye primers, I highly recommend this. This color works really well for my skin tone to block out the veins in my eyes. I am very pale, and actually you can probably see I'm very red. You can see through my skin practically. I do live in Florida, but I don't tan, I don't go out in the sun, so I am very pale, almost translucent. So this really helps to cover up those very blue veins in my eyelids. Let's do some of my other stick products. So I do have, what did I pick up? I have 4 eyeliners. Mainly I have my 2 liquid liners from Clinique. I have my brown and my black. I wanted to get through these just because they're getting old in my collection. I do have a backup of the black one, and I recently did use up my brown pencil liner, so I really want to focus on this one. These I'm not going to use to exhaustion, but I figure if I wear them a lot the first 6 months of the year, I can kind of call them quits after that. The other 2 eyeliners that I did want to focus on are my 2 pencil black liners. I have one from Clinique and one from Urban Decay. By looking at my other Urban Decay eyeliner that I used up earlier this year, usually they go dead about here where I marked it, so I don't have a whole lot. I really don't like using these for actually lining my lash line. I like these for tight lining. So I'm going to make it a mission of mine to start tight lining more so I can get through these 2 black eyeliners. For eyeliners, I have 2. I have the one that I've been working on in my project pan for the latter half of 2022, and that is the Colourpop lip liner in Little One. So that is all I have left of that one. And then the next oldest lip liner that I have in my collection is also one from Colourpop, and this one is in Another Round. And so this one is clearly almost brand new. I maybe have sharpened this 2 or 3 times. I have 3 lip products that I want to focus on. I typically can go through about 8 to 10 lip products in a year, and now that I am working from home full time, it's not going to be hard for me to reapply. I literally work from that area right over there, and my lip drawer is right there, so it's very easy for me to reach in there and reapply. But I want to focus on finishing up the Too Faced Hangover RX Pillow Balm in Mango, mainly because I've already made a lot of good progress on this, and I want to actually get this one used up so I can then use the banana one and really enjoy that. I mentioned in my collection video that I was really surprised at how quickly you start seeing windows on these products. I picked this one up during the 21 Days of Beauty in the fall, and I've already used up all of this, and I only put this on in the morning prior to me doing my makeup. This product, this is going to be the death of me. So this is the NARS Velvet Lip Glide in Bound, and I put this in my deck of panning, hoping that that would encourage me to use it. I used it like 2 times a month, and I'm the type of panner that I'm really disappointed in myself when I only use a product 2 times a month. I will say this is a very cool toned purple, so I really believe that I need to do certain types of looks to be able to wear this lip, or just reapply it as I'm working. So with that, I really do want to make this a focus, and I also want to use this as a liquid blush. Now that I have hit some goals on some other cream blushes in my collection, I feel like I can start using this as a blush and really make some effort on it, because this is one of my oldest lip products in my collection. My 23rd product that I have picked out is my Colourpop lipstick in Virgo Moon. I did use this 30 times in a project earlier this year, and I love the color, love the formula, and this is how much I have left of it right here. And I feel like I can really make some good use on this, but with this formula, you can use it 30 times and it not move. I don't know what the sorcery is that Colourpop put into this, but it doesn't move. So I really want to put it to the test with focusing on this product, because again, this is my oldest, doggy noises. This is my oldest bullet lipstick in my collection right now, and I bought it in 2020. At the end of this video, I will take you overhead back to my vanity, and I'm going to show you how I track these products. So in anticipation of using these products in 2023, I want to have accurate measurements and weights for them. So I'll take you over to my bullet journal and I'll lay it out overhead style so that we can look at how I'm going to be tracking these products. But I want to talk to you about the eyeshadow palette that I want to focus on in 2023. You may have already seen it at the top of the stack, so probably I spoiled it myself. But in 2022, I did focus on the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes, and I was able to hit, I'm trying to think, 6, 7, 8 pans, and I'm working on the 9th pan. So I was able to hit quite a lot of pans in that palette this year, and it really wasn't an effort. I'm actually using one of my shades, my focus shade, on my eye look right now. That's that pink color that's in my crease and pretty much all over my lid. And so I really have had some motivation that I'm not going to be an eyeshadow panner. I'm not. Actually, if you looked in my inventory spreadsheets, you might have seen in my eyeshadows that there was certain ones in my list that were changed to a different color. So that means that I've used those, and I put my eyeshadows in a rotation. I have them all loaded into Pretty Random. I hit the randomize button, and that's how I know what palette I'm going to use that day. I want to use all of my palettes. I want to be able to actually enjoy the shades and enjoy the formulas and actually feel like I'm getting use out of them and not wait 4 years to be able to use a palette. So I randomize a new palette every single day. And when I get a new palette, I might use it 4 or 5 times in a row, but after that, it goes back up on the shelf and it goes back in the rotation. Once I have used every single palette and my whole spreadsheet turns to that like light orange, I reset and I start all over again with randomizing my palettes. So if we do palette collections, if we do get ready with me's, I might end up being randomizing palettes. So if you saw in my palette collection that nothing else has pan on it, it's because I rotate through my palettes. I don't like focusing on one, but I do feel like this palette will be a good complementary palette. If I'm looking for a matte that I want to use with a single, I can go into this. So this is the Colourpop Give It To Me Straight. And this palette, I believe I bought in 2017. Let me consult the spreadsheets. So I'm not that bad. This palette was from January of 2019. So this palette isn't too old. So at least that kind of shows you that this isn't necessarily one of the oldest palettes in my collection, but definitely one that I want to get some use on. So this is an older Colourpop palette. I believe they still do make this one, but it's just really nice neutrals. I do enjoy this one right here. It's called Downright. I feel like I'm going to hit pan in that one the soonest. I can use Matter of Fact to set my eyelid primer every day. The shimmers are beautiful. They are a little bit more of a toned down formula, but they are beautiful shades. So I do love this palette. It performs okay. Of course, I have a huge collection of Natasha Denona. Look at those, just beautiful. I have a huge collection of Natasha Denona, so it's hard for Colourpop to necessarily live up to some of my other formulas, but it is a decent formula. So I feel like there are certain shades out of here that I will really enjoy focusing on, and through maybe my year-long project pan, maybe a 23 and 23, we can also tack on to the end of it progress that I'm making on this palette. So those are the 23 items plus a palette that I want to focus on in 2023 and get those used up. You will see these rolled into either my year-long project pan, or I am going to do Deca panning next year. So if I feel like any of these match a prompt, I'll roll them in. If you don't want to see how I put all these products into my bullet journal and how I'm going to track them, then you can log off now. Thank you for joining me. Like, subscribe, do all the things. But if you do want to see an overhead of how I'm going to track these products, then keep watching. All right, so items that I use to track my project pans is, again, a bullet journal, a scale, different colored markers. So I have some markers here. And then I also have a collection of markers here that live in the top drawer of my vanity. This is my bullet journal that I'm going to be using for 2023, but let me give you a peek inside of the journal for 2022. All right, so here is the start of my 2022 project pan. I did have a tally key, so each color is associated with a different month. I did have my products along with dates that they were used up. And then it starts with my products. Each product gets its own space, and then when they are used up, I do outline them in a blue highlighter, put my weights, when I finish them, and how many uses. Like with this one, with the e.l.f. Wow Brow, I did have 62 uses that rolled over from 2020, so I do put uses from the previous year onto here just so I have a total number of uses for when it is panned. For items that I need to measure the length, I do put sheets like this. So again, when they're used up, I do highlight them. I put when I roll them in and when they are panned. You're going to hear puppy dog noises in the background because they don't know what to do with themselves without me, so they're right outside my door. But for my blushes, I did print out my inventory. I did this about halfway through the year, so this is not all of the use on my blushes, but I do end up tallying off when I use the blushes. This also helps me track when I have usage goals for my blushes. But my goal for next year is to even rotate through my blushes, and so that a lot of my blushes will look a whole lot more loved. So going into the bullet journal that I have set out for 2023, I did already set out my tally key, and I already did set up some pages to list my products. And then I have my first sheet, which will just be for products that I end up weighing and tallying. I did go ahead and start to write down some of the products that I plan to use up. Like the Becca bronzer, I have already weighed that and put its weight. The large pan bronzer, since I'm using that one through the end of the year, I'm not going to collect a weight on that one yet. But I do have a lot of the products that I want to use up. I did order these markers off of Amazon. I use them for my project panning and also for my journal slash planner. I can link these down below if I can find them. But one product that I do not have listed here, which is going to be the foundation that I'm going to be focusing on as soon as I finish up my NARS Mix foundation, is going to be the Belief Beauty foundation. With this one, I think There's certain ones that have a little bit less space, so I think I can put that one up here. I'm not sure when I'm going to be rolling this one in because, again, I have to finish up another foundation, but I can take my scale, which this does weigh to 2 decimal points of a gram, and we can go ahead and weigh this. So it's 141.13. So that has my weight. Once I start using this one, I can start putting my tally marks, and I will weigh it at the end of every month. I can go ahead and weigh my 2 concealers because those will not get used until the beginning of the year. For items that I would need to measure, I did go ahead and measure some items ahead of time. That would be like the Colourpop lip liner in another round. I do end up starting my measurements where I have the bottom of this plastic piece. I line it up with the bottom of the page, and then that gives me my line. I do this with a lot of my products, mainly because some of them are longer, so I usually start at where the plastic bit of the product starts. But on some of them, what else did I end up? I measured a brow pencil. I'm going to end up putting a mark for my ABH brow pencil once the first of the year rolls around. Here is my lipstick in Virgo Moon. With this one, I did draw this up higher because that is where our plastic starts. So that is how I ended up getting the measurement for that one. Then after the first of the year, I'll also put a new marker for my Colourpop lip liner in Little One. I have already printed out a sheet with my blushes, and so this will allow me to track products. There are certain blushes that are going to take a lot of time, and so I will end up having a separate category for those if it goes above and beyond. I think I can fit maybe 75 tally marks in here, so if the usage goes beyond that, then I might have to transfer it onto another page. So that is how I'm going to be tracking my project pan. So if you see photos up on my page, you'll end up seeing photos and tracking out of this book here. I hope you have enjoyed seeing the 23 products that I plan to pan in 2023. Make sure to stick around, subscribe, thumbs up. Leave a comment down below if you are panning any of these items or what is your plan to pan for 2023. Next up, we do have my beauty empties, which includes over 65 makeup items, so stay tuned for that. And then we will kick off the new year with all of my panning videos. And I am going to be doing a 10 pan rolling style to do my whole collection project pan. And then I am going to be doing deck of panning, so stay tuned for that. I hope you will tune into the upcoming videos, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.